The seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake. You talk about going up there, but that is a big mistake. Just look at the world around you, right here on the ocean floor. Such wonderful things around you. What more are you looking for? Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Up on the shore they work all day, out in the sun they slave away, while we're devoting full time to floating under the sea. Down here all the fish are happy, as up on the reefs they roll. The fish on the land ain't happy, they sad 'cause they're in the bowl. The fish in the bowl is lucky, they're in for a worse of bait. One day when the boss gets hungry, guess who's gonna be on the plate? Under the sea, under the sea. Nobody beat us, fry us and eat us in fricassee. We what the land folks love to cook. Under the sea we're off the hook. Life is the bubbles, we've got no troubles. Under the sea, under the sea. Since life is sweeter, we've got the beat here naturally. Even the sturgeon and the ray, they got the urge to start and play. We got the spirit, you got to hear it under the sea. The newt play the flute, the carp play the harp, the place play the bass and they sounded sharp. The bass play the bass, the chub play the tub, the fluke is a duke of soul, yeah. The ray he can play the lings on the strings, the trout rocking out, the blackfish he thinks, the smelt and the smart they know where it's at. And all those blowfish blow under the sea. Under the sea. When the sardine begins to boogie, it's music to me. What do they got? A lot of sand. We got a hot crustacean band. Each little slug here, kiting a rug here under the sea. Each little clown here know how to jam here under the sea. Each little snail here know how to whale here. That's why it's hotter now under the water. Yeah, we're in luck here, down in the muck here under the sea. So I did it. It took me about an hour because I kept getting the words wrong. And if you saw me looking down through the whole song, I'm sorry. It's because I had the lyrics on my phone. Because I just kept forgetting them, especially the quick part. I was just like, nah. And also, if this annoyed you, I didn't notice it until the last take. It's just decided it's going to be free and not cool. So it's just sort of there. If anyone's wondering, this is my natural hair and I don't curl it, so I don't know why this has decided to be straight-ish. It's not really straight, is it? But that's annoyed me. I'm sorry if that's annoyed you. I don't know what to do with it now. Anyway, I have finished my mock exams and I'm so happy because they've just been so stressful for me. My mock exams have been riddled with the most stupid adjudicators I've ever come across in my life. It's like they wanted to ruin my life. So I'm just going to count down my top 3 worst moments with adjudicators in the last week. Number 3, it was the end of my Irish exam and I had a maths calculator test straight afterwards. So we didn't even leave the room. And she was coming round and this horrible woman was checking through all our pencil cases, and I get it, like, there's like paper in there. She came across mine and I was one of the first ones she checked, so she was like a bit confused. But anyway, she basically saw my calculator and threatened to cancel my paper because apparently a calculator is not allowed in an RS exam. She then took the calculator off me and didn't give it back until the end of my maths exam, and I had to rely on one of those stupid little, like, tiny calculators with just the numbers, and I didn't have any of the scientifical calculator bits, and it annoyed me so much. And she did this to about 10 other people, so that, I don't know, that just drove me around the corner. The second one was the same woman, and it was at the end of my history paper, and we had an hour and 45-minute exam. And it was, I write quite a lot for history because it's one of my favourite subjects, and I put my hand up, and she walked over, and I said, "Can I have some more paper, please?" And she goes, "No." Like, really, like, no. And I was like, and she was like, "Oh, it's nearly the end of the exam now. If you're gonna keep us in an exam for the full time and not let us write for 15 minutes before the end of the exam, what do you expect me to do? Just sit there for the last 15 minutes? Just like logic." And the last one has to be the funniest one of all, right? I was in my English exam, and it was the first exam, and I was sitting right at the front because I'm B for like B, and then my surname begins with V, so I was sitting right at the front, and I looked up, and there wasn't a clock. And in our English, we have very strict timings of when we do our work. So I talked to one of the teachers and I said, "There's no clock in here and I haven't got a watch." And she says, "Oh, we'll find one." So they went into this random room and pulled out this clock. And then they tried to put it up. It had no batteries in it, so that worked. Then they got another clock. And every time it got to 12, it would sort of fall down to past and then work its way up again. So the duties started the exam, and none of them noticed that this was happening. And at the end of the exam, what they thought was the end of the exam, so we only had an hour, and it was meant to be a 2-hour exam. So a few of us noticed this, and we said it to the examiners at the end, and they were all replying to us like, "No, you're wrong, we have to collect in the papers." So they collected them in, and we all left. And they didn't give us back our phones because we had to be in there after half an hour anyway because we had our next exam. So none of us had our phones. There was no clocks anyway because they used about half the school's clocks in the thing. We weren't allowed back to lessons, so we had no way of knowing what the time was. So we were all just sitting in the halls talking about how quickly that exam went and how any of us did half the paper. And then suddenly, one of the adjudicators walks out and says, "Can everyone come back in, please?" And we were like, "What?" And then we just thought it was the next exam, and they said, "We're very sorry, we've had a problem with the time, so you'll have to continue with your exams." So they took another 20 minutes handing out all the papers, because obviously we weren't sitting in the same seats as we were before. And so once they handed out the papers, we all had to try and get back into the same Zen mode that we were writing that sentence that we finished on. So we all just completely lost it. And it meant that it took so long with the added time that we didn't get a break or lunch. So we literally went straight through those 3 exams. I think it was the one where I had RS. So it was English, RS and Math. So I didn't get a break or lunch that day. I didn't have any water with me because I was saving it and none of us were allowed to go to the toilet either. It was a really awful setup. So basically, I'm just fed up with the exams. They've ruined my life. And my bladder.